As scaling service-based businesses, we want to succeed. We want our companies to thrive, to provide for our families, our employees, and to serve our communities in a greater way than we could have ever imagined. A big part of success is identifying what that end goal is, or what that will mean and look like for our lives when that day comes. For many service companies, selling a business is the ultimate exit strategy. With the sale of a company, the small business legacy gets to live on. And business owners are not only able to make money off the businesses that they have built, but now they get to reinvest their time or reimagine their purpose in a brand new chapter. However, selling a business is not something that you can decide today and do tomorrow. It takes strategic thought and planning. Prospective buyers and business brokers look at things like financial health and profitability, streamlined operations, strong sales and marketing, a solid management team, and so much more. In fact, even if selling isn't on your radar in the short term, you can implement best practices in your company today to make your company more valuable later on. I am so excited to introduce a longtime friend and client of mine for many, many years who has so much experience in this space. Brandon Kirk is the owner of an award-winning air duct cleaning company in Colorado Springs called Duct. He is a former defense contractor and holds a bachelor's degree in project management. Brandon is an entrepreneur, mentor, author, business coach, and speaker who is named 2021 Small Business Person of the Year. Duct has won the 2023 Better Business Bureau Summit Award and was a finalist for the 2024 Social Impact Business of the Year. This is the Succeeding Small Podcast, and we are on a mission to turn your entrepreneurial dream into a small business success story. We give you the strategies and insights from business owners and topic experts who are invested in your success. Leadership, operations, finance, marketing, growth. These are all topics we need to know as service-based businesses as we scale to the next level. Consider this your masterclass for small business success. Get ready for tactical business strategy and authentic conversations about scaling and entrepreneurship. We tackle it all to help you achieve your business's full potential. Ready to be challenged and inspired? Let's succeed small. Brandon, you have consistently made waves in the business community, and it has been such an honor to know you, to learn from you, and just witness the impact that you create for other entrepreneurs in your space. So thank you so much for the pleasure of getting to work with me from when I very first started my company, and to just be able to get to know you and share in the great success that you've been able to achieve for yourself and your businesses.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be on your podcast, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about building, scaling, and how to sell a company. It's
Yeah.
I've done it a couple times, and um it's intense, but with planning, you can have a really good exit.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to me about just your business journey. What does that portfolio look like for you, and what has been your experience buying and selling companies?
Ooh, well, I've had several companies. I had Colorado Handgun Safety here in town. It was a firearms training company. My brother now runs that. Basically, we were partners in that. And I said, I'm too busy. You run this. So he's handling that. I've owned two different carpet cleaning companies here in town. And I've sold both of those. And then now, obviously, in the air duct space, I'm building and scaling, and then eventually looking to sell it. And I'm working on that. And I think what people need to understand is when you're starting a business, from day one, you need to be thinking about your exit strategy, not getting, working 5, 10, 20 years and going, oh, I guess now I better think about selling or passing on this business. You really, when you start a business, should be thinking from day one, what is my exit strategy? Because you're working toward that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think it can really influence the choices that you make. When you have that end goal in mind, or you have that exit strategy, it changes how you do business today. Because if your plan is
Yes.
just to let, the business go forever, as long as you go and as long as you pour into it versus, okay, I want to be able to profit off this business. I want to make sure that it provides for me long after I want to continue doing it. It changes the way you build your operations and how you scale your organization.
With the two different carpet cleaning companies, um, figuring out, okay, what do I want to do? And do I want to build these and sell them? Do I want to pass them on to my family, have my son take over? But and that's really important. You have to have their buy-in on this, because you could build something, and we've seen it multiple times with other companies. The parents have built up this wonderful company. They want to pass it on to their kids, and none of them want it. And they're like, "Well, we've seen all the struggles you've gone through all these years to build this thing. We don't want any part of that." And when I was getting ready to sell my last carpet cleaning company, I talked to my son. I said, if I got out of this business, would you want to stay in the industry? Would you want to take over this business? And he said, no, no way. He goes, I can't handle the type of stress that you can handle. And I'm just not going to be gifted in that space. And I was like, okay, that right there told me, okay, I need to stop thinking about building this thing to pass on to my family. And I need to build this to sell to somebody else so that I can benefit my family with the proceeds of the sale, as opposed to raising him up, teaching him all the stuff that I know, grooming him for management, all of that stuff. Just when I'm looking to sell, I don't need to do all that. So it would be, a waste of time and energy to put my effort in that direction when I'm ultimately just going to sell the company off.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. To be able to get that clarity earlier on and have that, to know that you can have those conversations with your kids and be able to prepare them and prepare yourselves. I'm sure that's really, really helpful. So what was that
Yes.
decision like when you had that realization that you knew you had to sell instead? What were some steps that you took? What were some action items that you did to be able to now transition your exit strategy and know that you have to pass this business on to another buyer?
Yeah, at that point, I mean, it totally changed the focus of how we were building. And it's like, okay, we need to have all of our systems in place, our processes documented. We need to bring in some other people to look at the financials, because I already had a number in my head. Hey, this is what I think my company is worth. But then I had to bring in a CFO, Robert Thalen, great guy, outsource CFO, and have him look at my financials. He coordinated with my accountant, and he came up with the valuation. Goes, okay, yeah, what you're asking for falls within the range of what your company is worth. You can do the same thing with a broker. They're probably going to take a bit more. They're going to want a percentage when you go to sell. But once we had the valuation, then it was a part of making sure that our financials look great, our processes were good, our team understood where the company was going and what was going to happen. Because you could like, oh, I'm selling the company, and then all of a sudden your workers go, whoa, hey, if you're not going to be here, I'm leaving, dude. I'm gone. I'm going to go do something else. Um, and figure out, okay, who's going to go with the company, making sure, all the assets are documented, um, and who doesn't want to go with the company. Cause you can't say, well, you're going to go work for this guy now. They're like, no, I'm not. I don't like that guy. I don't even know him. Cause we built a relationship here for years, and you got to, if people aren't buying into the vision, then that's a problem.
Yeah. How do you have those conversations with your staff? How early on do you let them know? What does that transition period look like?
Um, well, once I started looking at, hey, I'm looking at selling this. I just got the whole team together. Said, hey, here's where we're at. This is what I'm looking at doing. And I was very very open about it. Hey, this is In fact, my staff now knows that my current staff with this company, they've known since they started. Hey, I'm building this thing, and I'm building it to eventually uh, walk away, sell this off to somebody else, and then I'm gonna go off and do my next thing. And I've already got in mind what my next thing already is. So, and besides, I'm not just going to go sit on a beach because, you know, that you get bored after a week. So, uh,
I know I was gonna in my intro, I was thinking about like business owners selling to retire, but I'm like, I know so many entrepreneurs who love entrepreneurship. They love what they love doing, they love serving, they love idea generation and stuff like that. So that's so funny.
Yeah, just retiring to do nothing. That is such a pipe dream, and you get bored very quickly. Like, no, 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 I need to get busy. So you know you'll find things to do. You'll either start another business, you'll start serving on different boards, uh, helping other companies because you need to have purpose. If you suddenly, okay, my purpose was this, my purpose is now gone. I mean, what do you have left?
Yeah.
So how are you gonna continue to move forward? You're not just gonna sit on your couch and watch TV for your retirement years, because that's no fun. So um, I think again, when you're looking at starting a business, owning a business, whether it's a franchise, whatever, the first thing I think about is, okay, how are you going to brand this thing? And what I tell people is like, don't name the company after yourself. Do not become your brand. So you should enhance the brand, but don't become the brand, because it's like, oh, Joe's carpet cleaning. Okay, well, what happens when Joe's not there anymore? Joe was the whole brand behind it. You were selling him. So I tell people, say, hey, name it something that is not where you are not the focal point. You are not the brand, because when you retire, you can't sell you.
Yeah, that is so important. It's also something good to keep in mind whether or not you want to sell or not, but just being able to remove yourself from the business. I think that's a really powerful transition point when companies start to scale is if they have created an entire business identity around themselves, it's really hard to step away. It's really hard to take a vacation. It's really hard to get sick and have to depend on other people to run your company for you if you have just embedded yourself so much in your company from its operations to its brand, that's a dangerous place to be. And it does not necessarily mean that's going to be an appealing purchase for a buyer to come in and have to just work with what they have given when your business owner
Mhm.
has built up the entire business on their shoulders.
Yeah, they built it up on their shoulders, and they haven't developed their team to handle the things that you don't have time for. Because in my business, I do not have time to go out often and jump in the middle of an air duct cleaning job. I mean, I will if I have to, but it's not the best use of my time as a CEO. And any new CEO coming in is not going to want to be, well, oh, I have to go out in the field and get up in somebody's 200-degree attic and work on this system in the middle of summer. They may not be down for that. So they thought, oh, I'm going to come in. I'm just going to run operations and marketing and all that. And that's really what they should be doing, especially the marketing side, and not be out in the field turning wrenches. And I say it everywhere I go. You cannot work on your business when you're working in your business. So, building up your team to take that stuff, learning how to delegate, which is can be very hard for people, especially if they're control freaks, and they got to be in control and on everything instead of trusting their teams to do stuff. And you need to be able to hand over not only all your business assets, but your team over to that new buyer, so that he's not having to work in the business when he needs to be working on it. So.
Yeah. So let's say that business owners are in that scaling stage where they're really trying to define their roles as CEOs. They're trying to build up the system, build up their team, like you were talking about. What are some steps that they can take when they're in that nice, messy middle place to be able to prepare themselves for scale and for sell?
Uh, First thing is to adjust their mindset. You are not a carpet cleaner. You're not a plumber. You're not an HVAC guy. You're not an air duct guy. You are the CEO, and you have to have that in your mindset. And you need to be thinking, what is the best use of my time? I mean, that from the beginning. And what is the best use of my people's time? And see who in the business, who can I raise up, who can I develop, who can I groom, and to take over more responsibility and learn to let go of of trying to control everything, because you're trying to. What we've discovered is you try to jump in your business so you can stop people from making mistakes. And the problem here is, if you do not let people make mistakes, they cannot learn. because you're always rescuing them. You're always jumping in instead of saying, let's see what he does here. Yep, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Now he knows not to do that again and to handle it in a better way. Obviously, except for areas of, health and safety, you have to be able to let people make some mistakes so that they can learn. And then how you respond to it. It's not, it's not a problem. It's not oh, I need to discipline this person. No, I now is a learning opportunity. It's a coaching thing. Uh, and that is a big thing with that type of mindset. When you're trying to groom your people, you got to let them make mistakes.
Yeah, that gives them the opportunity to grow and really challenge themselves. And the more that you're able to help skill up and level them up, that means the less you have to do in the future. So you're really
Yeah.
being able to empower them to create this culture where people are allowed to experiment, they're allowed to learn, they're allowed to grow, and really be able to take that off of your plate. I think that's really powerful for businesses able to do, so that way they can go and focus on the things that are most important to them and what's really going to move the needle for their company, while knowing that the day-to-day operations are gonna be fine. You're teaching them problem solving skills of like, okay, if a customer is unhappy, here's how you go through those processes, and people can start to think for themselves and be able to come up with those solutions. Or this broke and now I know how to fix it because I had done that when I was an apprentice, and now I know the skills and I know how
Yep.
to learn and ask questions and be able to do trial and error. And people don't get that chance when you micromanage them.
Yeah. Micromanage and punish as opposed to coach and teach. And I had to learn that. There were times I was, years ago, I don't know, I said, I was probably not a very good boss, because I had or learned these things myself. And yeah, let them grow, let them make mistakes, and let them, become better at what they're doing. And then they gain the confidence to do the problem solving. The problem we've got is the current labor market. People are coming into the job market with a massive skill deficit, not only in mechanical skills and hands-on or even technical skills. Just some people don't know how to use a computer, and they're afraid to touch it because they think they're going to break it. Or also the soft skills, how to talk to people. Everyone's on their phones 24/7. They haven't learned how to talk to other people, and they're not out networking like me and you, and we're constantly out there talking to people. They happen to have those opportunities. They got to learn about a firm handshake and eye contact and communication stuff and mirroring people and stuff like that. They don't have any of that, and so a lot of their interactions when they first beginning are very awkward. So we have to let them develop in those areas.
What was that turning point like for you to be able to help people to be able to delegate and help people grow on their own and be able to get out of that space? And how has that contributed to you being able to sell your businesses in the future?
Boy, well, there's been a few turning points, but one is, trying to run multiple business at a time was just overwhelming. And I was like, I just I cannot keep running multiple businesses. And I was like, I've got to take stuff off my plate, concentrate on one thing and do it well. So that's when I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to sell off the carpet cleaning division. And we did that. And now I can concentrate full time on this. And that's freed me up. The other issue is I'm going to just tell you, and this is something I teach other business owners about. If you have personal issues, if you've got any trauma going on in your life that you have not dealt with, you need to deal with it because it will manifest itself in your business. So started going to counseling. I got on meds, and it has made a massive difference in my business, in my marriage. I mean, I don't, we used to be a very high stress place to work, but I don't yell. I don't throw things. I don't, freak out over stuff that it would just drive, something breaks, somebody makes a mistake. Now I'm honestly very chill about it. And we've actually transformed our whole culture within the company. We had a lot of help from Frank Sinclair on that. Frank came in and helped us reimagine the culture inside of our company. And changing that culture has made this a very low stress place to work. And it's our team has responded well, and people are stepping up and wanting to do more than they were doing before because
Wow,
they feel it's a safe place to grow.
that's amazing. Congratulations on what
Yeah,
you've been
thank you.
able to do. Culture is no easy task, especially when you're trying to take it from something and turn it into
Mm.
something else. So well done. I am so excited for you to be able to make that transition and make a big difference in the people of your who work for you.
Yeah, it's been a great change for me, for my for my marriage, for my business, for my staff. Um, you know, people people can, they're not afraid to tell me things like, "Ooh, hey, this thing over here got broken." Before, instead of just people telling me about it, we go out and it's like, "How did this get broke? Who broke?" And of course, nobody would fess up, and rightfully so. They don't want to fess up and get yelled at. So it's like somebody broke this thing. And now it's like, "Oh, hey, boss, this rotary cable broke. We need to get this fixed." Now it's not a big deal, because and hate to say it, sometimes as we as business owners, especially if we're control freaks and stuff, we are our own worst enemy, and we will poison our own well if we don't get control of our emotions and our ego.
Yeah. Mm,
So
that's powerful. So, talk to me about when it comes down to people and it comes down to systems and being able to have a really good, solid operation. What is your advice to business owners who are starting that process and thinking about selling? How would you recommend they start thinking about systems? What kind of things do they need to put in place today?
okay. Yeah, systems are important. Making sure that number one, you've got a really good CRM that you're using. So you've got a good database of your clients and ways to follow up with them. Uh, the other thing is employee handbook, obviously, operations manual. A lot of us have operations that we do every day, but many times well, that's just the way we've always done it. Nobody's actually written it down and said, this is what we do, and here's why we do it. And it needs to be on there because that when you go to sell it, you've got your business in a box. Having all of that, all your processes documented is like putting a little bow on top before you hand it over to the new owner. So having all that, having all of your OSHA compliance in place, your OSHA 300 logs, all, everything where it needs to be for somebody to step in and have what they need. So that is part of the planning process. One thing with franchises, well, franchises are very popular simply because they come with all of that. But when you don't come from a franchise, you started this thing from scratch. You have to build that stuff yourself, and that is, especially if you hate writing. A lot of people hate writing um, and creating content. I guess that's an area where AI might be able to help out quite a bit. It's like, hey, I need a policy for this. Boom. I need a policy manual that covers these topics. And now AI can, spit that out, which is great. That's a huge time saver. But then you talk about us starting to use some more AI in those areas. So save me more time.
Hey, small businesses. As a thank you for tuning in, we're so excited to announce our monthly merchandise giveaway. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, and you could win the merch of your choice. Whether it's a CEO hoodie, an entrepreneur mug, or anything else from our small business success collection, it's our way of saying thanks for your support. Simply leave a review, screenshot it, and email it to us at connect@succeedingsmall.co, and we'll announce the winner at the end of every month on social and in your inbox. In the meantime, check out our merch online at succeedingsmall.co/merch. That's MERCH. You mentioned earlier being able to get in contact with those fractional CFO people and being able to either work with a business broker. So what are those? Talk to me about that kind of process and what kind of financial health preparation do you need to do ahead of time to make sure that, your books are clean and you've got good margins? What does that look like in terms of the financial prep?
Financial prep. The first thing is you got to have a good account. And now, well, I've learned the hard way in business that I will only work with a CPA or an enrolled agent. Those are people who are accountable to the state if your books are not right. Whereas anyone can go. Oh, I took a class on Facebook, or I took a class on YouTube, and I call myself an accountant. They can actually do that. I'm an accountant. I'm a bookkeeper. They're accountable to no one, and you can have people, cooking your books and or embezzling from you if you're not careful and keeping an eye on that. So, making sure that you've got a good CPA team behind you that can prepare your stuff, and working with a fractional CFO. I've got one right now, and we sit down and we'll actually look at our numbers weekly. A lot of times it'll be like, okay, I would look at my financials every 6 months, and then I got a little better. Okay, now quarterly. We're actually we're actually looking at our numbers weekly now, so we can forecast where we are, and we say, okay, we were down this last week. Do we know what caused it? And then we need to figure that out. Okay, what can we do to mitigate that or change things? So when you have the time to look at that, and getting the help of a fractional CFO or a regular CFO to help you with that, I mean, that's huge, because honestly, business owners, we don't have a ton of time we don't, and we may not have the expertise. Say, some people look at a balance sheet and go, I have no idea what I'm looking at. What is this? Where you get a CFO in there, he can break that thing down for you along with your accountants. And, he's got the same access my accountants do to the financials. He can look in there and he can run reports, and then we sit down. So knowing where your financials are at, where they're projected to be, is huge if you're going to sell. And one thing they're looking at, especially when you're going to sell, is they're not so much looking at your revenue. While revenue is important, the person who's buying your company wants to see, what are you taking home? How much money is in your paycheck as the current CEO? They want to see your personal taxes. They want to see your W-2 income. They want to see your K-1s. Hey, this guy's, you're doing a 1.4 million, 1.6 million a year. But what are you really taking? What you're only taking home 80 grand? Something's wrong here. If I do this, what's going to be my return? Not so much. Okay, great. You did this much money in business. That doesn't mean you were profitable. So you can have really high revenue and actually not be really making money.
Yeah. Oh man, that's going to hurt a lot of people's hearts.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, especially when we're growing businesses. I know so many business owners that don't take home a paycheck, or are willing to be able to sacrifice that for the sake of growing their business. And to
Yep.
know that that's actually a piece of the puzzle when it comes down to selling that off is actually compensating yourself. I think that's a really good reminder that it's important. It's important to be able to give yourself a livelihood and be able
Yes.
to make your business provide for you and build it accordingly.
Yep. And this was a hard concept for me to learn, because it seemed so opposite of what I thought. You have to pay yourself first. You've got to pay yourself first as the business owner. Pretty much, it used to be, okay, we got a bunch of money in, we paid all our bills. If there's anything left, then I get a check. Mm-mm. I get paid first. Then everything else has to fit within whatever's left. And that, I mean, especially if you're looking to sell, you got to have that mindset about it. And that the CEO has got to get paid. And yeah, I mean, in all the years I've been in business, there were times that, I had to take on a home equity line of credit to make payroll. I mean, and there were weeks, okay, everyone else in the company gets a paycheck. I don't get one this week. I mean, there were times like that, and that's the struggle of being an entrepreneur. There are going to be some lean times, and sometimes the lean times are because we screwed up, and then you learn not to do that again.
Yes. Oh my gosh. No, I completely understand and can relate. This is probably the year, first year and a half or so that I've actually been consistently paying myself. And I had always had that mentality of like, I love my business so much. I could do this for free. I have this
Yes.
passion for it. I love my people. I am so glad that I get to pay other people's livelihoods and get to support them. Like that's such a cool thing that I'm able to do. And I'm willing to be able to sacrifice to be able to make that happen. But
Hmm.
it was 2022 and it was Christmas time And I had been sacrificing my paycheck all year because we were not profitable as a business. And
Mm,
every dollar that was coming in was going straight out to payroll and my expenses. And I could not, we didn't have enough money to buy my daughter Christmas presents.
mm,
I'm like, what is the point of what I am doing if I cannot, it's enough for me to just sacrifice, but if I'm sacrificing my family and my child, like that is not okay with me. And how can I have been running this business for so long, just like this, without being able to consider myself worthy of a paycheck and be able to build my business to be able to support me? So
yep.
that was so hard. It was so hard
Yeah.
for me to face and so hard for me to fix. And if I had
Yes.
just started with that mindset, I think things could have been a lot different. So talk to me about that negotiation process. What does that look like? And how do you make sure that you get what you want? How do you set those expectations and hopefully make a really good sell for yourself?
Yeah. First of all, make sure your company financials are in order. Work with your CFO. Build up an evaluation. Basically, we built a packet about that thick, um, with all the financials in there. Basically, what our assets are, what all that, and we put a sales packet together. And I knew when I went to sell, I said, I know 8 people I want to show this to. And then I worked with my attorney. He wrote up a sales contract for that we could fill in the amounts and all that. Great contract. The other party really should have read it better. So I was pretty happy about that. Uh, and making sure we had our NDAs in place, non-disclosure agreements, because if I'm showing it to one guy, I don't want him running all over town saying everything that's in my packet, you know? And actually, we had one guy, he violated the NDA. And are the 8 people I showed my business to for sale. And I immediately called him up. I said, "You're out of the running. You will never have a piece of my company. You violated the NDA on the very first, on the same day you signed it." I'm like, "We're done." And I refused to sell him the company.
Wow.
So I had somebody else that had years before said, "Hey, if you ever go to sell, I want first look." I'm like, "All right, you get first look." So he got a packet. He had to sign the NDA and go through. Of course, he takes it back to his team, his accountant and his CFO and his wife. I mean, and all of his management team to go over it and say, okay, what do we have here? Do we think we can do this? Does it make sense for us to buy this business? And then, there are things you don't think about. Okay. Leases, if you're in a lease, how's that going to be handled? If you have subscriptions, let's say like on our vehicles, we sold like 6 vehicles or 7 vehicles with the sale of the company, and they all had cameras, dash cams on them with GPS and all that stuff, so we could track them with a subscription through Verizon. Well, that contract has to be taken over by the other person, and if they're taking over the physical assets, they also have to take over the digital assets and any liability attached to those. So, and those are the things you have to negotiate. It's like, no, you have to get these cameras transferred into your onto your account and off of my account, so I'm no longer liable for them. So those are just things we had to negotiate, and negotiations were intense. I mean, I've known the owner who bought my company. We'd known each other for probably 10 years. We actually met at a class in Denver. And yeah, he hate to say it, but we'd be yelling at each other about this sale. It's like, no, you're going to do this. And you got to read the contract. I mean, we'd be going back and forth. I mean, it was pretty intense, but in the end, I got what I wanted as far as the asking price, and he got what he wanted. And, that company's running and rolled into his company. So I'd say if you're going to negotiate, be a little calmer than Brandon.
That could be your takeaway. Oh, that's so funny. So, what does that handoff process look like? So say you're under contract and you're going to go ahead, you're moving forward, you're doing due diligence, that sort of thing. What does that look like on your end to prepare your company, and how do you help make that transition?
We kind of wrote into the contract, okay, so we're going to basically ownership was going to transfer on such and such a day, and everything gets transferred over to you on this day. And there's going to be some overlap. Obviously, there's going to be, for me, there was a couple weeks. Oh, hey, we forgot to give them this. We got to take that over to their office. Um, it was a pretty good handoff. And I guess sitting down, I think the best part was, you go over there and you go meet with their team. And, because he already had a team in place, for his company, because he was in a similar line of work already. So we meet with them and we explain why we do things the way we do, and how we got these systems set up. It's also about handing over all the passwords to everything. I mean, our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram, um, our websites, all of that stuff, so that they can start getting in there, do their own marketing and all that. So, I mean, that's the handoff process. It's not okay. Sign here, we're done. No, there's going to be overlap. In fact, what we did as part of the handoff is I agreed to stay on their board of directors for 2 years. So and they could call me at any time. And I was like, oh, hey, Brandon, we got a question about this. I'm like, they're 2 miles away. I jump in my car. We go have a meeting. I'm like, okay, here's why we did it this way. And, I see you guys are going to do it this way. That's fine. Did you think about this? Did you plan for that to happen? And just pointing out different pitfalls and contingencies, and why we did things the way we did, and what they need to be careful of if they decide to go a different route. So I would say one of the big things too is like when you hand over your team, um, you got to make sure that, your team going over the other side understands what changes there will be or won't be. Because I know with one of my sales, we were told, oh yeah, everything's going to stay the same way it is, and nothing's going to change. My team goes over and their paychecks changed. They went from being paid weekly to biweekly. Now we're dealing with Gen Zs and millennials who are not the greatest at managing money. And for them, having a weekly paycheck, even though it costs me a lot more money in payroll expenses to have that done, I understand. Hey, they can't wait 2 weeks between paychecks. They need to be on weekly pay so that they have a steady flow of income coming in. Because otherwise, they're going to go out and buy that PlayStation 5, and then they're going to be eating ramen for the next 2 weeks because they bought the PlayStation. Whereas if they've got a weekly paycheck coming in, they can still survive if they do something like that. It's just something to think about. But well, when that team went over to the other company, and suddenly their paychecks were changed, that caused a lot of problems. And people who were like, well, yeah, I'm cool with going over there. The minute the paycheck, they're like, nope, I'm done. And they bounced, they left, I'm like, I told you, don't change things. Keep things the way they were. And there's a reason why we do things the way we do. But anytime you're selling to a new owner, they're going to have their own ideas, their own expectations of how they want to do it. And then they're going to learn, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm sure that transition is hard. And I like the philosophy of transparency and just inviting employees in on that ultimate vision, like we were talking about earlier, of this is the plan, this is where the company is going, this is what's happening, here's what to expect. I think that makes things a lot easier than people who just sell out their company right under the feet of their employees and say, like, sorry, you have a new owner, and just totally take them off guard. I feel like that really sets everybody up for failure.
It does. That's bad business. I think it's borderline unethical.
Yeah.
People, they're invested in you and helping you build your company. And then you're not upfront with them about where you're going and what's going to happen for the future. Yeah, I think that would be that would, yeah, I would say, yeah, borderline unethical for sure. And just rude.
Yeah.
So yeah, transparency is huge. And if you're like, well, I don't want to be transparent, I'm like, that goes to a deeper thing. What do you fear? And that's the problem when you start making fear-based decisions in your business. So that is typically usually the wrong move.
Mm, yeah. Hmm. So, if you were to start another company tomorrow,
Yes.
what would you do?
Oh,
Hit the ground running with all that you've learned, with all the businesses that you've been able to grow and sell. What would
mhm.
be your action plan?
My action plan would be to find a business where I can, once it's set up, I can be an absentee owner and have passive income so that I only work when I want to. So, and that's the problem with a service-based business. A lot of times, I mean, it's hard to be an absentee owner in a service-based business. My next step after this is I'm gonna buy land and I'm gonna build storage sheds so that I have 300 rent checks coming in every month. And then it doesn't matter where I live. I can live here, Florida, Israel, it won't matter. And I just fly in every quarter and check things out.
Well, I'm
But yeah,
so excited for you.
that's the plan.
I love that. That's awesome. I think it can be hard for a lot of passionate small business owners, especially in the service based space, to start thinking about that exit strategy and being able to get out of their business. And I see a lot of businesses who start off that way and they don't plan for that exit. They don't plan on anything for happening. They just love it. They love what they do. They continue to do it day in and day out. And then something happens. They, get sick or they have to, just stop working, to close their business, to shut their doors, or they have that situation like you were talking about where they plan to pass it on to their kids and their kids don't want it. So
Yeah.
what do you tell those people who are just in love with their companies, and
Mm.
how soon do they need to start thinking about that plan? And what does that mean for their passion, their heart, their love of their business? How would you
Yeah.
talk to them about that?
I'd say the main thing is your exit strategy you need to start thinking about it from day one. Get your team in place, your accountant, your CFO, your attorney. Those are, I mean, three things you got to have in business. I love my attorney. Other people fear my attorney, which is great. But have your team in place to start thinking about that. And while you love your business, you have to find a way to make somebody else fall in love with your business enough that they're going to drop a big check. You know, and then of course it comes down to the negotiating part too. Do you want a big lump sum and walk away? Do you want to get get a decent sized check and then have royalties thereafter? Um, do you want to be on the board of the company for a set period of time so that you have some oversight and can lend some guidance for their first few years of business? So I would say, figure out how you want to do it and how you want to set that up, and then make your business so attractive somebody else definitely wants it. I've got people right now. I want to have your business. I'm like, all right, well, drop 4 million on my desk and we'll talk. And I'm planning. You got to have that number in mind. What do I think my company's worth? What can I get? And if my company's not worth what I think it is, a CFO will tell you. So will a business broker. No, honestly, your company's not worth what you think it is. Okay, what do I have to do to get my company to that point? What do I have to improve or change, or what do my numbers have to be on my financials for me to ask what I want to ask for it? And then that's what your goal is.
Mm, I love that. Well, thank you so much for being able to divulge so much experience that you have learned and the actual real life situations and scenarios that you've gone through. I appreciate it. I am so glad that we got to be able to do this, to talk about exit strategies and being able to really scale your business to sell it at the end of the day. So, thank you so much for your time, Brandon. How can people get a hold of you?
It's pretty easy. We're at planetduct.com. You know that because you manage all my SEO and my websites and everything. So planetduct.com. And we're also on Facebook and YouTube. I've got a great YouTube channel. Or you can call us at 719-728-5111. And we're happy to discuss anything people need.
Awesome. Yes. And you mentioned in your bio that you're a business coach and mentor. So what does that look like?
I meet with people who are starting up companies, and I literally they come in, we sit down, I look at everything from their digital assets, everything else. We'll sit down, I'll give them homework. I'm like, here's all the things you need to do right now that are fast and free and will help propel your business. And then I will refer them out to places like Succeeding Small. I'll send them to a good accountant. If I think they got a legal issue, I'll send them to an attorney. I'll help them get set up with people in the industries that can help support their business the best. So they don't have to start from scratch and go out and make mistakes like go build a free website with some cheap tool like Wix, where no one's ever going to find your website. So I basically I sit them down, give them homework, and I give them referrals to other people who can help them build their business because we can't do it alone.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I'm so excited to be able to share this with so many people who need to hear this message.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You just listened to another episode of the Succeeding Small podcast. I hope you had a pen to jot down all the actionable strategies we just shared. If not, no worries. We have every episode on our website, including transcripts, YouTube recordings, and plenty of small business resources. So visit the show notes and check out the incredible archive of content created for you and your scaling small business. We are truly invested in your success, and we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social to request topics you want to hear, or leave us a review wherever you listen. You're one step closer to being that small business success story.